Welcome to the second episode of the Drama Mama podcast. Today's topic is one that hits home. It's when should you leave your job and how do you know it's the right time for you? Are you just frustrated or angry with someone? Is it just a toxic environment or is it actually damaging your mental health and it's the perfect time to start your own thing or move to another job? Let's go for it. I'm so excited for this episode. The first episode, which was you're allowed to change your dreams and you're allowed to change, got almost 350 views, which is insane to me. I know I get huge numbers on Instagram. 350 views is nothing if I were to compare it to my Instagram account, but this is not nothing to me. This is YouTube, which is a much harder platform. So the fact that I'm close to almost 400 views, maybe I'd get to 400 views by the end of the month, is such a milestone. It's my first ever episode, so I'm very happy about that. I think we should always celebrate our small wins and just always imagine that there are 350 people out there who watched this video, this reel, or read your carousel. That is something that we should never ignore. Nevertheless, let us get straight to our topic, a very sensitive story of mine. I'll be sharing my numbers, aka my salary at the time when I quit my job, what I felt before, during, and after, and all that, all those roller coaster of emotions that I went through. But I wrote a bit of notes, so excuse me if I keep looking at my laptop. I don't want to miss a point. You know, when you finish talking to someone and you go home and you're like, I wish I just said this or I mentioned that. It usually happens after arguments. And I don't want to do that with the episode, with any of my episodes. So even if you catch me looking at my laptop here on my left side, I prefer you catch me looking rather than me forgetting any note I want to say. So let's start. So today's topic is, should you quit your job? And as they say, it takes one to know one. I know how it feels when you're frustrated, when you just want that change in your life because you're dealing with a lot of toxic people, toxic managers, been there, done that. Or you just feel like you're not growing in that space, or you feel like the job that you're doing is not enough. And it's always a good thing when you want to change for a positive reason, which is you want to grow in the position that you work at, in the field that you work in, or simply you just feel stuck and you feel that that company that you're in, whether small or big, are not giving you the opportunity that you deserve. Or you feel that if you did something and you want to run your own business, you would be much more successful and more satisfied with your life. And success in that sense is you having the freedom and running your own thing. So let's get to it. Before we continue, hi, my name is Sandra. In Lebanese, they say Sandra. My name is Sandra. I'm a content creator. I'm doing this episode and especially this podcast to relate to any person, especially as a creative person who has ever dealt with insecurity, who has dealt with a career shift, who basically passed through imposter syndrome, dealt with a lot of issues when it comes to having a stable faith in God. I just want to tackle these subjects openly, and especially as a content creator, I want to also talk about social media and how it can change your life and how it changed my life, but also the mental toll it took. So there are a lot of things I want to discuss about this podcast, but today I just want to introduce you to myself before we talk about how I quit my job. So I had been working since I was 18. I took my first job. I also was working during my university years, actually I didn't finish my master's. During my master's, I was working as a graphic designer in a startup, and I was my biggest goal, and I mentioned this in my first episode, was to become financially free, to be able to afford what I want, depend on myself, and later on provide for my parents and give back everything they gave back to me. So I was always doing something. I was always busy. I was always freelancing. No matter how small the budget was, I would just hustle. Do you know that reel that says, I'm a hustler? My sister is a hustler. I hope you know that reel, or I just sounded stupid. So I always had a new project. I would work relentlessly and I would have many sleepless nights. So what I want to say is that I've been working for a very long time. I'm almost 30 now. By March, I'll become 30, which is a very exciting age for me. But yeah, I would always work a job and never leave it until I have a backup plan. Because I knew from a young age that I wanted to depend on myself, and so I wouldn't take that risk. As impulsive as I was, and I was an extremely impulsive person, I would never, ever leave a job until I had like a plan B set for me. I had a contract that I signed, and then I would leave that job for another. So that rule that I always had kind of protected me. It gave me a security. And I mean, before I mention that moment I broke that rule, I want you to understand how unqualified I felt at the beginning of my career. So I don't ever want to give you the impression that I was so confident from day one, that I knew that if I quit my job, I'll find another job. No. My friends, my humans. Since I was 18 till I became 27, until my imposter syndrome kind of faded. From 18 till 27, I dealt with extreme imposter, and then 27 till now, 29, that's when I've been working on my imposter syndrome. I want to say God and I have been working on my imposter syndrome. It took a holy team to get this done. But so yeah, I never want you to think that I was so confident and I knew that any job wanted to take me. I mean, for me, if any job wanted to take me, or the job that wanted to take me, I would be so scared the night before before I would start my new job, because of how insecure I felt. And if you don't know what imposter syndrome means, it means that feeling that you're a liar and that someone's going to catch you at the end of the day and call you out for not being actually a good designer. In my case, a good graphic designer or a motion designer. And so I lived with that feeling for a very, very, very long time, especially that I entered graphic design by mistake. But that's for another episode. Woohoo! We have a lot of episode ideas coming up. And that's an important thing I want you to understand. I never wanted to seem like I have everything figured out, or I had everything figured out from the start. What a big lie. Maybe I might look confident on social media, but I always tend to remind my fellow humans on there that I still deal with a lot of vulnerabilities. God does give me, a lot of strength, but I think we're not meant to be that perfect, or we wouldn't rely on Him. But anyways, let's get to, by 2024, I was working 2 jobs. So I was working one job in a huge advertising company. I'm sorry if you watched my first episode, I repeat some things in this episode, but I promise it's going to be how I quit my job and the main focus on that. And maybe it will give you some clarity if it's the right time for you to quit your job or not. Okay, so by 2024, I was working 2 jobs as a multimedia designer, a senior multimedia designer at the end of it. And I was also designing some carousels and presentations for another startup. Anywho, what I wanted to say is that I would wake up at 6 a.m. and sleep at 12 a.m. because I'd be working all day. And that's when Sonic Creates was born. And so it was a lot to carry. The minimum to say is I had a burnout. And I created Sonic Creates because as a creative, if you're a creative or if you're someone creative, you don't have to be working in the design field to be a creative person. You know that you need a space to express, right? That's how our creativity keeps flowing. And that's how we keep going on. You need something on the side to distract or to feel that you did something for yourself at the end of the day and not just for your boss, which is, making them money and making yourself nothing. So, yeah. I also want to say that money was a huge factor on why I was working these 2 jobs. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, I'm going to be transparent with my numbers. So when I was working as a designer for the startup, as a part-timer, I would earn $600. And my full-time job as a multimedia designer, and by the way, this is the first time I'm this honest publicly saying my numbers out there. So if you're listening to this podcast episode, it's a pretty special episode. I'm never this comfortably transparent. This whole podcast thing, anyway, is a bit weird. I have a phone in front of me. I'm holding my microphone, which one friend of mine said it looks as big as my head. You know who you are. But I don't have the proper stand. And I'm okay with holding it. At least there's something I can do with my other hand. But if I had the podcast mic aside, I would not know what to do with both my hands. And I would just be moving them all the time. And it would be too distracting for me and you. Where were we? Ugh. This is a moment to say ADHD brain. I don't believe I have the ADHD, but sometimes it pops out. I was saying, I was earning $600 as a part-timer, and I was earning above 1.5K in my other job. And so I was making good money in that month. But because of the burnout, I would spend most of it. So if I worked one job, it would be even better for me. But I would spend money just because I'm also, first, an emotional eater. And second, I'm an emotional shopper. So if I see something I like, pew, I would buy it. And while I was working in that full-time job, by the way, I didn't know that I was going to mention this in this episode as well. Gosh, I feel like I'm opening my heart. It's a heart-to-heart conversation. Sometimes, when I first started Sonic Creates, a lot of people supported me. I can honestly say a lot of people from my environment supported me, and that helped. Of course, the close people to me, like my best friend, my sister, my fiance, my family. I had such a huge support from them. But I had someone, and I'm not going to name, who was supposedly supporting me. And you know those times when people support you until you make it and then they stop supporting you? And it becomes a bit toxic. Like you sense jealousy from them. So I had that feeling from someone where I was working in. Ooh, spill the tea, please. I'm not going to name, or I'm not going to talk about this much because it's honestly a detail in the story and it doesn't really matter. But I felt some toxicity coming from that person. And so, which was very surprising. You would think that that person that you've known for a while would really support you and be happy for you, but I guess sometimes jealousy takes over. I don't know. I don't want to judge. I'm trying not to judge, to be honest. So that started getting to me, and I noticed that it's getting, like, it's not professional as much as before. So, and the work has been so mundane in that company, and I'm not growing. And you know, when you work in huge companies, in huge agencies, one sentence was told to me, which was, you are where you are needed. When I tried to express that I want to grow, I want to create more, I want to learn new things. And the sentence was, you are where you are needed. And so that was a clear statement to me that nothing's going to change from a year till now. Even if I take these courses, nothing's ever going to change because I am where I'm needed unless I'm needed on another team. I remember texting George or calling him during that phase. He's like my human diary. And I would be like, I don't know how long I can continue. I definitely don't have the guts to quit, but I don't know how long I can continue. I know I can give more in another job. And I would have stayed in that job. But what happened changed everything. I was posting on Sonic Creates. Things were booming. We're looking great. My audience, my humans were growing perfectly. And ring, ring, I get... actually, emails don't do that. I think they do ping. And I don't think my email does that anyway. So I'm just trying to add a sound effect. I get an email. And this company, this brand, they reach out and they email me for a brand sponsorship. What the heck is a brand sponsorship? I entered and I created Sonic Creates. I entered this world of content creation with no intention to make money from this account or for it to be like my full-time job. I didn't even know that you can have a full-time job from it. I knew that there were content creators, but I just thought that they make money from Instagram. I was so I was so far from knowing how you can make money from content. I got this email which they proposed to pay me $300. I think for two or three videos. Oh, why? It was amazing. I remember this feeling so well. I was sitting in a cafe and I got that. And I was like, oh, people want to pay me money to post? And I checked their brand. And it was the cool concept where you can, like the link that you put under your name on Instagram, or the place where the link is, you can have it, you can rename it. So it doesn't have to be like www.youtube.com. It could just be like the title of my episode, which is when to know when to quit your job. Something like that. I don't know why I'm not using it right now though. Kind of silly. So I tell George and I tell my sister, people want to pay me to make videos. And I'm already recording, so people want to pay me. This is amazing. Excuse me, I need to drink water. I hope that wasn't heard. I hate when people do sounds a lot with their mouths, live or recorded. So anyway, like a light bulb moment where I saw there's a potential to make money from all of this. And then I got the idea that I might make money from this. And during this phase, I was hating like working my full-time job. For me, it was burning my time, burning my energy, burning my like good mood every day. Ugh, it was so purposeless at the end. So I took a leap of faith. But it wasn't that easy. For me, I say I took a leap of faith. But let's get to the back end of things. Before you think that, okay, I told George, I'm going to quit my job, and then I quit my job. That's exactly how it did not go. I took time. I prayed about it. I'm a devoted Christian. I was originally like an agnostic person. I wouldn't say I was an atheist because I didn't have like bad intentions with God. I wasn't like, ugh, you don't exist. I don't like you. Get away from me. I didn't have that. I was just so... I didn't care. You know that feeling? Like you don't care if that thing exists or not, if you like this thing or not. So when it came to faith, I didn't care if God existed. I didn't think of him. That's also for another episode. I don't want to divert to too many episodes and dive into this. But yeah, what I wanted to say is that I prayed a lot. And I prayed a lot for a lot of things. I prayed for Sonic Creates, and God gave me so many signs to go for it. Oh my God, I'm so excited to tell you the story of Sonic Creates. For another time, have patience, my friend. But anywho, I prayed a lot, and I was like, dear God, let me know if it's a smart thing to leave my job. I'm an impulsive person, but I always take care when it comes to job. I don't wanna like not have money for a while. I'm used to having an income. Let me see if this is still recording. Yay, we're still recording. Anywho, and I kept getting the courage courage started building up in me to quit. So first thing I did, I quit my part-time job, but that was for my mental state. And then I had my full-time job in Sonic Creates. And I did my finances. So this is something I want to talk to you guys. It's so easy for someone to say, I quit my job. It was the best decision ever. Woohoo. But as someone, I mean, let's say it as it is, middle class, I had to count my money. I had to see if I can sustain myself. You cannot have so much ego when it comes to this. I'll definitely find another job. People would wish to work with me. Even if I was getting, like recruiters would hit my LinkedIn and tell me that they want me for a specific job, you have to be so humble. You have to consider that maybe what if nobody wants you? You have to put the worst case scenario and the best case scenario and just have a plan. Some people quit and then they fall into this depression. But you have to study it before. I mean, God gave us a mind to use it and to be very wise in our decisions. I'm sorry for the tough love. I'm really sorry. But this is the truth. You can't just quit your job unless you're very comfortable financially. Because finance is the biggest factor of why someone would or would not quit their job or would not take this leap of faith. And obviously I was working 2 jobs, so I had a bit of money saved up. I would say, I think I had $2,000 saved up. And we did the math. He was my boyfriend maybe at the time. No, he was my fiance at the time. George and I did the math, and I could sustain myself for a while if I wouldn't go out carelessly and I wouldn't spend my money recklessly. Then I could sustain myself for a while. And so I did the math. I knew if I were to quit my job tomorrow, I could sustain myself, but I just didn't have the guts for it. Until one day, after I got the brand sponsorship and after I got another brand sponsorship, and I was like, hey, I can make a living out of this. I think at the time I got a really good deal, but if you know, if you've worked as a freelancer or as a content creator who depends on brand sponsorships, you know it's not a stable income. So either ways, you're taking a leap of faith and trusting God and then trusting yourself that you have to be a bit crazy. Until one day came and I was in the studio, I remember, back when I had the other studio, and something happened that frustrated me. I don't remember exactly what, and I just burst crying, and I texted George and Cindy is someone, my sister, who loves risks, as do I. And she's like, do it, just go for it. But George is a calculated person, which I need in my life, which helped me also tone down my impulsivity, which helped me focus on things objectively. So George was like, have patience, calming me down. He's the calming voice in my head. Whereas Cindy was like, go for it. You deserve better. You gotta quit. And I just put my phone aside and I was like, God, please, if this is from you, give me the strength to do it. Because I don't think I can handle another day of this. I was exhausted mentally. I was exhausted, damaged. And I knew that I had an opportunity waiting for me if I worked hard on it, which is content creation and working with other brands. So I had a plan, you guys. It's very hard to quit without a plan. And you have to have some money aside, especially if you make your own money and you have responsibilities and you have things to take care of and you have expenses. I mean, my online subscriptions alone per month are $200. So, anywho, I remember crying. I was in the toilet and I was crying so much. I was so afraid. I was shivering. And then I went to my desk. I took a deep breath. I put my phone upside down. I didn't want to see any text because I knew I was at a very fragile state. Mind you, I never quit a job without having a backup job. So this was new to me. And this was 2 years ago, so I was 27. Did I quit in 27? Anyway, between 2023 and 2024. So I need to look at my LinkedIn to remember. I'm such an old granny. So I wrote that email. Hey, hello, Nana. Unfortunately, I want to submit my resignation. It was wonderful working with you. However, I cannot continue. And I recorded that moment. I don't like sharing videos where I'm crying. I have it on my phone, but I don't think I want to share it. I'm not ready yet to show videos of myself. Like I recorded myself crying. I don't like that so much. I don't like watching myself crying. I think it's weird. But when I see other people crying on Instagram, it gets to me a lot. But I think I'm not used to seeing myself crying. Anywho's, and I pressed enter, and I knew that I could not reverse this action. I sent enter, and I felt so afraid. I want to tell you that I felt good. I want to tell you that it felt amazing to quit my job. It terrified me. I was so afraid. I was shivering. I was crying. I didn't know if what I did was right or wrong. And I couldn't focus for the rest of the day. I was just crying all day. I remember I needed a fresh breath of air. So I went out of the studio and I put you're going to laugh at me. I'm just a girl. I put this song of Little Mix called I don't know what their name is. Mix. Anyway, the song is Little Me. Stay with me. It's a very important detail. Little Me lyrics. I'm gonna Google this because I found it. Okay, so it's for little mix, little me. So the lyrics are very powerful, and the lyrics says, "Wish I knew back then what I know now. Wish I could somehow go back in time and maybe listen to my own advice. I tell her to speak up, tell her to shout out, talk a bit louder, maybe a bit prouder. Tell her she's beautiful, wonderful, everything she doesn't see. You gotta speak up, you gotta shout out." So I don't know what got to me, and I listened to that song, and I just got strength after it. And I was like, okay, I was crying most of the day. And I texted my mom also, and I told her I quit. I'm going to find the message and put it, if you watch this, I'm going to find her message and put it on the screen. And she had so much faith in me. She said what I did was right, as I remember. She just gave me so much strength and power to continue, to keep pushing. She said, I have a very bright future. Great things are coming my way. Sometimes that's all you need to hear. But it was a me versus me kind of situation. So the me that believed in myself and was finally crushing my imposter syndrome, and the me that was so afraid. What if I don't make it? I'm still new to content creation. It hasn't been a year. I'm fresh. And I remember June 6th, 2024 was my last day as a full-timer. I remember that because my husband's birthday is June 2, and then we took an Airbnb and we celebrated, and they cut a cake for me, and I posted this carousel. I'm sorry if you're hearing this and not watching it. It's a carousel on how I quit my 9 to 5. So, by the way, did you know 9 to 5 stands for 9 hours for 5 days a week? It's not from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. That amazed me. So I quit my job, and I had a 1 or 2 month notice. January, February, March, April, May, June, April. I think I had a 2 month notice. And I was so excited to just stop working for that company and start building something for myself. But during that phase, after I quit my job, I remember going through a very black period. And I even wrote a letter to myself because I was feeling so down. And I have it here in my drawer, actually, that if I were to go through that black period again, thankfully I have not read the letter, I would read this letter and it would give me strength. I was so down and so low and so self-destructive that it would cripple me. Call it maybe the accumulation of fear and my overthinking and my negative thoughts. Call it whatever you want. It was a very, very bad phase. It didn't last much more than, I'm guessing, 4 or 5 days of pure self-destruction. Thank God. And after it, it's like God gave me the strength to just stand on my feet and be excited for what's coming. I took this decision. That's what you need to know when you quit your job. You took this decision. You made up your mind. You pressed enter and you sent that email. Now there's no going back. You can't be like, I'm sorry, it's a typo. Can I come back to work? In Arabic we say khalas. That's enough. Khalas. You made that decision. You have to be as strong as that decision. And yes, there are going to be horrible days, maybe days where you have no work, but you took that decision and you owe it to yourself to give it your ultimate best to see the end of that tunnel. But these are the most important factors before you quit your job. You have to ask yourself, am I just angry with that person from work? Is that person the reason why I want to quit my job? If so, and at the same time you're growing at your job, but you just have an issue with that one person, then you have to deal with it in some way. You have to go to the upper management, you have to complain, and the level of toxicity does matter, but then hone your emotional intelligence to not let it affect you, right? So let it help you mature more in your character to know how to deal with that person. But if the reason why you want to quit your job is because you're not growing and you can see opportunities outside your job, then that's another thing. But if you want to quit your job and you don't see opportunities outside your job and you don't know what to do exactly and you don't have some sort of backup plan, backup money, then I would suggest to use this job that you really don't like as a main drive to quit your job and go to your plan B. So in my case, I had a full-time job, but I also was getting brand sponsorship offers. So that was a way there. My following was more than 20,000 people. And so I knew if I said, hey, I'm open for freelance, at least one person would text me. Yes, is it a risk? Yes, definitely is. But at that moment, that momentum that I was in, everything was growing outside my work. And I used my work at a lot of times as a drive to reach my dream, which is becoming a full-time creator, even though I didn't understand the possibilities of being a content creator. But I used it. Every day I would wake up, I would hate my job. Hate it. Waste my time. It's wasting my time. It's wasting 7-8 hours a day of productivity that I can put elsewhere. But I used it so I can push even more in my content. You see what I did there? And that's something that you could do. Do your work as much as you can. Also, always be responsible in your work. Don't be a careless person. I mean, have good qualities as an employee. Do your work as much as you can. You don't have to put the extreme effort that maybe you were putting when you first started. But let it be your drive to push in that business that you want to create. Push in applying for another job and getting it. Let it be this fire in your gut and in your heart to push you to do something else. Also, as I mentioned, I prayed so much about this. And after I quit my job, I realized one thing when it comes to like prayer, my relationship with God. I was expecting God to do something else, right? Sometimes we expect him, like if I want something, if I want this carpet, let's say, dear God, I want this carpet. And then you see that the carpet isn't here. The carpet is not arriving. But sometimes God works, and he truly does work in mysterious, wonderful ways. Sometimes God doesn't give us the thing that we want. He gives us the courage to remove the thing that we shouldn't be accepting anymore. So if I want a new carpet, I have to remove the old one, and then he'll give me the new one. So in my case, I remember telling George that God didn't maybe provide that other job or didn't show me a very stable plan. He was giving me the courage to stop accepting the route I'm in, to just say no to this job anymore. Stop. God is my safety net. When God is your safety net, he will provide. I have been, and I'm not saying this as someone who has not been provided for. Ever since I quit my job and I knew that it was God's sign for me in my life, I just knew it because it's not something I prayed for the night before. I had been praying about this for a very long time. So when I had God gave me the courage to just say, no, I cannot deal with this anymore. And that I have bigger opportunities. And he showed me the bigger opportunities I had outside my job. He showed me. He made me feel the opportunities. I started receiving opportunities. And so I left my job and I told God, you are my safety net. You are my provider. You will not allow me to starve. When I say you're not allowing me to starve, I'm not saying that in my house I used to starve or anything. But in that sense, you will not leave me hanging. And I promise you, from the moment that I quit my job to this very day, I have been getting offers almost every 2 days. You know how many brand sponsorships I decline per week? A minimum of 2-3. And that is not because I'm great or my social media account is great. It's because when I told God, you provide, you be the provider, God is very generous. My plan was to have the minimum base income and then I could freelance. But I was so tired working branding. I didn't want to take any single client anymore. So God provided brand sponsorships, one time payment, one time thing. He knew that is exactly what I needed. So yeah, that is something very important and I really wanted to mention. And to this very day, every blessing that comes my way, I know that it's God who sent it. I just know. He provides and I just get showered by his blessings. Was it an easy decision? Definitely no. It's not a walk in the park to quit your job. It's not. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done in my entire life that kept me shaking for the entire week. Now you can ask me, how do you have trust in God and you were shaking? Because I'm human. I am human. I am human who has a lot of weaknesses, and I took these weaknesses, and during my very dark phase, I just gave them to God and was like, you take this weight off my shoulders. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. The future to me was so unknown. It was funny. It was so unknown that previous me would be like, you're crazy for quitting your job. But I was actually talking to a friend today, and we were saying that he also quit his job. And we were saying that we were talking about dreaming big, right? And I don't know if the saint says this, but I love it. And she says, or he said, dreaming small is an insult to God. So when we dream big and have insane goals that our own minds cannot comprehend, and again, I say this, and you need to have wisdom when you're choosing your dreams, not be so delulu. But with God, you can be a bit delulu. You can have crazy plans with him, and he will help you achieve them. There is no goal I put for Sonic Rates I did not achieve. And that is all by the grace of God. I will say this now and forever and till the end of times. It is not because I am smart or I'm so good at creating content. There are a billion other accounts. It is the grace of God that got me here today. It is the grace of God that helps me continue to film this podcast at 11 p.m. because I told you I'm going to be consistent and disciplined. And even if it's going to be 1 a.m., I'm going to record this. But I just wanted to say this. Now I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. I wrote them over here. For you to know when it might be the right time to quit your job and if it's something that you're considering. So let's start with question number 1. Okay. Look at the past 6 months of your working period. Has every day been a terrible day, or has it been an awful phase for the past only 6 days or for the past month? Is it something that always happens and really annoys you? Or is it something that just passed and right now you're a bit emotional? Is the job consistently damaging your mental and your physical health? You gotta know, and we all know, stress exists in every job. But constant anxiety, I was working in a news broadcasting station. It was one of the best experiences I ever had in my life. But working in a news broadcasting station is a lot of stress. Things go live. And if you do a mistake and you're late, then that's a lot of trouble. And everything is last minute information. And you can't have a single typo because it's going to be on the news. That was constant anxiety. I was extremely tired. Even at the time, my menstrual pain increased. I fainted one time because, stress really affects a woman's cycle. So that got to me, and I had to leave. But other than that, it was a great experience. But I don't think you should stay in a job if it's making you lose your physical and mental health. Third question is, if you're dealing with a situation at work and it's bothering you, have you tried to improve the situation? Have you communicated it out loud? And how many times? Just once? Have you communicated it more than 2-3 times and nothing is happening? Have you taken that issue to the upper management? Or I mean, always try to go for solutions, right? Rather than going to upper management with, I have an issue with this person, or I have an issue with this, and you're going there as someone who is fueled with anger. Always take the angle of trying to find a solution with them. And the smartest thing you can do when you're working in a company or agency is say that this will improve the quality of work. I need us to fix this situation so I can give more to my work. You have to play it smart, people. We have to improve this because I want to give more. And you have to be a bit genuine about that. I'm not saying you should lie. Another thing is, do you understand what you're giving up when you're leaving that job? So you have to sit by yourself or sit with a friend who you trust and be very honest about your salary, the stability, the benefits. Are you going to be able to find them somewhere else? So let's say you work a remote job and you don't earn well. And you want to try to find another job where you earn well, but it's not remote. What are the cons and pros for you? You might find that you're more comfortable in the remote job, even if it doesn't pay well. But at the end of the day, it saves you gas money if you're going to the job and you earn well and you don't like going to on-site jobs. So this is just an example. Another question is, would you still leave after the anger passes? So think of the situation and why you want to leave your job. If the phase that you're going through right now and you're very angry and frustrated, if it passes, is the job, let's look at the job objectively. Is the job good? That's what matters at the end of the day, that you grow in that job. Now, the market in the whole entire world is down. And I know this because I have a lot of friends applying for jobs here, outside the country and inside the company. And I know a lot of clients are leaving big companies. So the market is down a bit. You have to be very realistic on what you can handle. And another question is, staying sometimes is, so not only financially, what is staying in this job costing you emotionally, creatively, spiritually, and physically? If you go tell me that you're just tired driving to work and you're still not used to it, then I would say, pull your stuff together, man. Go to your job, and if it's not harming you and just you're tired from an hour or 2-hour drive, a lot of people face that. But if it's harming you, if it's costing you more than providing, then I think maybe it's time to quit your job. Another thing I wrote about, which is ego. Right? It's so random to talk about ego when it comes to leaving your job, but it is a main topic. Do you want to quit your job or resign to prove that you don't need anyone? When you want to quit your job or when you want to find another job, all ego must be on the floor. That is something I learned. That is something I've witnessed from a lot of people around my life. When you want to quit, is it your ego speaking? Is it you trying to punish someone with your absence? Or do you want this dramatic satisfaction of walking away? So you might not notice that subconsciously you might be doing this out of vengeance, out of tiredness, out of not being able to communicate your problems. These are all questions that I also ask myself. Did I quit my job because of that one toxic person? Heck no. These are things, I was working remote, so I didn't have to face the person every day. I was okay. It also taught me to reply in a very smart manner. Excuse me again, I need to drink. Anywho, I'm sorry if that gulp was heard. I hate when that happens. So, yeah, I asked myself, am I leaving that job because of that one toxic person? That's not. Maybe the toxic person was a cherry on top, but the cake was that I had no place to grow anymore. And it was affecting me a lot. Let me see if I have one more question. I also want to point out that I don't regret the years I spent working those jobs, multiple jobs. They taught me how to design, handle pressure, a lot of of pressure, deal with a toxic environment, work with people, and become very financially responsible. So leaving your job does not mean that you are a failure. If it's the right thing after you evaluated and you really sat with yourself, did the math, did your finances, looked if this is a good decision, prayed about it. I never want you to think leaving your job, if it's harming you, if it's extremely harming you, as a failed thing in your life. It's just preparing you for what's coming next. That's what you have to think about it. Even if what's coming next is a bit unknown. But maybe that's something that you need to hear today. That you don't have to wait until that job completely destroys you before giving yourself this permission to leave it, right? It's a breakup. Every breakup is difficult, but you don't have to wait till you have your heart extremely broken to leave that relationship. If there are too many red flags, if you're being harmed in any way, then it's the right time to go. I really enjoyed this episode. I really hope that you enjoyed it as well. If you liked this episode, please let me know in the comments what you'd like me to talk about in the next episode. I hope I didn't miss anything. I don't think I did. I really enjoy talking to you. I really enjoy recording this podcast, especially this podcast episode, because I got asked a lot when I quit my job, how did I know that it's the right time? And huzzah, a year later, this is this is an episode. I think it's been an hour I've been recording. Let me see. It's been a fair 40 minutes. Yeah, I bet you're fed up from my sound. But thank you for listening to the second episode of the Drama Mama podcast. That jingle has stuck. And I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you listening to this episode. Thank you so much. I appreciate having you in my life, even though maybe we have not met live. But the fact that we have some sort of connection, or some things that, you find relatable to me or to my Drama Mama character, then I appreciate it. And it means so much to have you here listening to this. I hope I didn't bore you and I didn't confuse you. And thank you so much for listening to the second episode. See you in the next one. Let me know in the comments if you like this episode. If you want to subscribe, feel free to do so. And just let's talk. Let's talk below this episode. I'm replying to every comment. Last episode, I had 5 comments, which was awesome. So yeah, I'll reply to you there. Thank you, hooooooman. Goodbye.